For centuries, memory shaped this moment, slowly turning repetition into unquestioned truth. What feels familiar often settles deeper than what was carefully written long ago. Over time, imagination filled the silence, and tradition slowly echoed as scripture. The story became complete in our minds, even as its origins quietly drifted away. Sometimes truth is not lost suddenly, but softened by comfort and repetition. To understand what happened, we return to the text before memory learned to speak. Matthew records the account with restraint, leaving out what later voices added. What remains on the page is simpler, quieter, and more deliberate than tradition. Scripture does not rush to explain. It waits for the reader to slow down. The story begins not in warmth or certainty, but in distance and open space. Before names were known, before journeys began, attention was drawn upward. One sign appeared, not announcing itself, but inviting interpretation. It did not explain its meaning. It simply existed, waiting to be noticed. Recognition would require more than sight. It would require response. And in that quiet pause, the journey of faith was already beginning. Time moved quietly forward, carrying the question beyond the moment. It first appeared. The sign was not always visible, yet its meaning did not disappear with daylight. Belief turned inward first, long before it became a decision expressed in motion. What they prepared to carry revealed what they were willing to leave behind. Journey began without ceremony, marked only by the choice to step forward. Distance reshaped the question, turning curiosity into endurance and resolve. The cost of faith is rarely announced. It is discovered along the road. Night brought silence, and silence tested whether conviction would remain. Seeking often looks ordinary, shaped by patience rather than dramatic certainty. When the sky spoke again, it confirmed movement already set in motion. Each step carried weight, even when the destination remained unseen. Time passed unevenly, measured not by hours, but by perseverance. Resistance did not argue. It simply pressed against every decision to continue. Small figures crossed vast spaces, carrying conviction disproportionate to size. Direction slowly took shape, not through clarity, but through continued obedience. Rest was brief, taken not as retreat, but as preparation to continue. Each morning renewed the journey without explaining why it still mattered. The destination approached quietly, carrying expectations not yet tested. Thresholds often appear ordinary, even when they separate certainty from change. Movement slowed, not from doubt, but from awareness of what lay ahead. Expectation gathered quietly, shaped more by hope than by answers. The journey reached its next question, not its conclusion. Power announced itself through stone and order, long before truth was welcomed inside. Here, movement followed routine, not expectation or longing. Strangers drew attention, not because they arrived late, but because they came seeking. Their presence questioned what the city had grown comfortable ignoring. Authority gathered behind walls, measuring threats before recognizing truth. The space felt heavy, shaped by control rather than anticipation. Power often listens without revealing what it intends to protect. A simple question unsettled more than any accusation could. Knowledge was summoned quickly, ready with answers shaped long ago. Scripture was opened without hesitation, yet movement did not follow. Prophecy spoke clearly, even as its nearness remained ignored. Familiar words rarely disturb those who no longer expect fulfillment. Silence concealed intentions, allowing fear to speak more loudly than faith. Direction was given, not as worship, but as strategy. Those who knew the way remained where knowledge felt sufficient. The distance to Bethlehem was short, yet obedience proved much farther. Leaving the city required less certainty than staying did. Behind them, answers remained stationary, unmoved by their own clarity. Night opened space again, restoring room for guidance beyond walls. The sign returned, not to persuade, but to accompany those already moving. Joy surfaced quietly, shaped by recognition rather than surprise. The road narrowed, drawing focus away from power and toward purpose. Movement resumed with clarity that words inside the city never provided. Hope appeared without explanation, fragile yet unmistakably present. The path grew simpler, even as its meaning deepened. What lay ahead would require recognition, not argument. Nothing here announced importance, meaning waited quietly within ordinary walls. Arrival did not feel triumphant, only deliberate and restrained. Before entering, stillness asked whether recognition would require humility. Nothing about the moment resembled expectation, yet everything felt aligned. Presence revealed itself without spectacle or demand. Recognition arrived quietly, shaped by understanding rather than surprise. They lowered themselves fully, responding to truth rather than appearance. Witnessing required restraint, not explanation or defense. Protection took its place at the edges, unseen but present. Gold acknowledged authority without demanding recognition in return. Incense rose as acknowledgement, offered before words could form. Myrrh carried meaning that time would slowly uncover. Together, the gifts confessed what history had yet to reveal. Worship lingered without instruction, sustained by recognition alone. Nothing was demanded of the child, yet everything was acknowledged. Light settled gently, neither proving nor persuading. Completion arrived without closure, leaving reverence intact. Departure followed recognition, not urgency or command. The world outside waited unchanged, unaware of what had occurred within. Faithfulness remained steady, not as spectacle, but as quiet certainty. What mattered most was not announced, only held. The moment released its weight, allowing the story to move forward. After the encounter, the night held its silence, unchanged yet no longer empty. They departed without announcement, carrying recognition into an altered direction. The road chosen afterward mattered more than the one that led them there. The sign no longer guided, having completed what it was given to do. Journey continued without spectacle, shaped by quiet conviction alone. Movement remained steady, even as understanding settled inwardly. Morning arrived as it always had, offering no explanation for what had changed. What once burned brightly faded, leaving warmth rather than display. Return did not undo the journey. It carried its weight homeward. The path ahead stretched forward, ordinary in appearance, yet altered in meaning. Warning came quietly, trusting obedience more than explanation. Response required immediacy, not understanding or reassurance. Protection unfolded through movement, not resistance or force. Safety was found by leaving, not by remaining where danger lingered. Cost was felt without depiction, carried silently by those left behind. The story widened, extending beyond a village toward distant lands. What began quietly now belonged to more than one people. The journey ends without closure, inviting each listener to consider their own.